Hey guys, how's everyone going? It's VaulSC here, and we're going to take a look at a casual game of infiNity, this time between Aleph and Nomads, the two powerful vanilla factions. And it's going to be a game of Frostbyte, so we're going to go straight ahead and quickly take a look at the table it's being played on. A very brief overview on the mission, just since I do this every time, and I'm sure everybody knows how the mission works by now, but we're going to have a look anyway. So Frostbyte is a mission where there are three consoles in the middle, and if you go up to them and pass a willpower check to press them and turn them on, you can then activate one of these four consoles. One of them is going to be smack bang in the middle of your deployment zone, and the other one's just going to be further out here and controls this strip between the exclusion zone and the the base of the table, the deployment zone, I should say. Now, the idea is that if you're not in one of these strips at the end of the game, there's this killer cold which kills every model that's not protected by the heated zones, with the exception of the data tracker, heavy infantry, and tags. So you get 3 points for having more army points. But it's not really about the army points, because what you can also do is kill the enemy data tracker for 2 points and secure the central exclusion zone with your own data tracker for another 3 points. So what I find is that the game often devolves to a matter of killing your opponent's data tracker and having your one in the middle, because it's not about army points in the center, it's about whether or not you have a data tracker in there and whether your opponent's one is in there as well. Of course, there's a classified objective, and you do get a bonus point for having at least one of these middle consoles turned on. But we'll see how it plays out. Having a quick look at the army lists, we'll go over them. So first of all, I am going to be playing Aleph for this game. And we're going to be playing not OSS, not the sectorial, but vanilla Aleph, and it's going to be an Achilles list. I have not played Achilles since the release of Operation Cold Front and the new sectorial. It's just been sectorial since then. But I'm coming back to Achilles because he did get a little bit of a buff with that update. Not as much of a buff as Tariq or Shishkin did, obviously, but Achilles is still good, and he's become a little bit better because we now have this beautiful profile, the Shukra Chain of Command, which means that you can play Achilles as the lieutenant and move him out there and spend the lieutenant's order without risking the fact that he's going to be dying as much. And also, the Shukra makes a cheap lieutenant in the same way that the Diva does, but you've still got a specialist lieutenant with Chain of Command there and counterintelligence, so your two groups can only be nullified in terms of a single order rather than two when your opponent's stripping them away at the start of the game. So it's the same old kind of list that I always run with Achilles, but with a little bit of a buff. You might raise an eyebrow at my inclusion of two Crackot Renegades, but I think that they work very, very, very well in Aleph, because they supply you with that deployment zone defense with your chest mines and things like that. They forward deploy out there, so you've got more space to put your really large probots and Alemed rebots in your deployment zone, and they're all round excellent troopers for so many reasons. Other than that, the classic Dakini TAC bot, which is going to synergize with the proxy hacker. Obviously, the multi-sniper in there as well, proxy Mark 2. All the net rods, always take those. Sophatech, of course, to revive Achilles or bring him out of isolation state, for example, or immobilization. And the Dazu, an amazing specialist, but also a really good midfield fighter, I think is a really, really useful thing in this list, as well as her ability to spring out of nowhere and ARO things that are coming through the middle of the table, and lay mines. My opponent, I'm trying out a new 10-order list. He's still new to Nomads and just playing around with them. So we've got the Heckler Jammer, my favorite Heckler profile, one of the best Nomad profiles there is. Interventor Lieutenant, a very popular choice, and I can't really fault it. Very useful for a number of different things. Hellcat Combi Rifle, nice, cheap airborne deployment trooper, which of course can benefit from controlled jump, so definitely not a bad choice there. Intruder X-Visor Multi-Sniper Rifle, a staple of any Nomad vanilla list. Kusanagi, love her or hate her, a lot of people still like her. I think that she's been left behind by so many other really cool new characters that come out without getting any real buffs here. Sadly, she's still 4-2 speed, she still doesn't have shock immunity. Any old mine that goes off is going to kill her. And just with one Ballistic Skill 14 Spitfire that starts in deployment zone, she doesn't really do the, ARO bashing, when I say ARO bashing, I mean bashing their ARO pieces job as well as the Kriza does. So he's put the Kriza in there anyway, but I feel like Kusanagi and the Kriza overlap a little bit, and I'd like to see Kusanagi maybe traded out for something which can do a bit more midfield work, like a Prowler or a Spectre. 2 zeros, you've got the different varieties, Killer Hacker and Deployable Repeater E-Mauler. Other than the Forward Observer, these two are, I think, the best profiles you can take, although I kind of like the Assault Hacker if you've already got a lot of other hackers there to back them up. Dactari, a must for your Intruder, and Brando Castro, an all-round amazing offensive profile. If you get the chance to go first, very, very strong. So we're going to launch into it. My opponent has gone with first turn, so I am going to be going second, which is what I would have chosen anyway, and I do get to deploy second, which is a bonus, so I'm feeling happy about that. Just taking some photos of my hidden deployment, the Dazio in the middle and the multi-sniper here, although in actual fact I won't be deploying first, that's just me taking some photos and keeping them earlier in the queue. Okay, so my opponent, looking at his deployment zone, starting from his right-hand side, moving along to the left. There's an Intruder Sniper which is watching a long lane around his right-hand side. We've got a cluster of camo markers in the middle, including Brando Castro, both Zero Killer Hackers, and the Heckler as well. Dactari's got a Pelbot, but the Dactari is back up here where the Kriza Borak is, and we've got Kusanagi out in the midfield. We'll go on to some better photos of this, by the way. So there's the cluster of mines out in the midfield. Well, not mines, camo markers, in fact. He's just placed them all there so he can move out. Note that there's a very big line-of-sight blocking building in the middle of the table, which is going to allow them to do that. Kusanagi towards the middle, just planning on taking up cover next to this this big silo tank thing in the middle of the table. Really love what he's done with his purple bases. I might steal that sometime. Really cool alien world looking theme, I think. Kriza Borak behind the box here with the Intruder and the Dactari, not the Intruder, the Interventor and the Dactari. Note that you probably wouldn't want to be doing this if you suspect your opponent has access to some kind of rocket launcher or super jumping splash template type thing. Can be a bit vulnerable, but hey, I mean, if this is a good vantage point, why not? My side of the table, we've got Probots and Rebots and the Shuka Consultant hanging out back. I suspect my opponent of having a Drop Trooper, so what I've done is I've put the Lieutenant, well the Chain of Command guy back here, just covering the back line with his boarding shotgun in case anything lands. And then we've got the Flash Pulse to cover off this side of the table. Landing all of my net rods out there successfully, so that's good. Quite often I fail rolls with those, but not this game. All three of them plonk into the ground. Achilles is the data tracker. He is standing up. Note that he cannot be seen from this angle here or this angle where the Intruder and the Kriza actually are, but he does have a bit of a dotted line through here to fend off possibly Kusanagi or Bran or whoever might cross through that path. And of course, if he does get hit, he can just drop prone behind that wall. Sophitek can revive him if he does go down, but he's got 3 wounds, ODD, cover, plenty of armor. We're not expecting that to happen. Out in the midfield, Krakot Renegades, so this is the guy with +3 physical, and this is the guy with climbing plus and 6-4 speed. And as you can see, all of the net rods placed successfully, so really chuffed about that. On the left, there's the Proxy Hacker taking up position to put Assist to Fire onto my Dakini HMG, and another Flash Pulse bot to fend off any drop troopers coming around on the flank here. And of course HVT there. Note that my Mark II Sniper is positioned there just to cover these lines through the battlefield, and the Dazio is positioned on this corner to work her way through towards my opponent's side where he's got all these camo markers, right? So hopefully we've followed that. On to the game. So the data tracker is chosen. It's Achilles, and this guy here is the data tracker for Nomads. So first of all, he steps up on top of this box and declares to me that he can actually see one of my Krakots. And I didn't think this was possible, but there's this niggling little sliver line of sight through this angle here. So he decides to go ahead and shoot at my Krakot, which was a pain. Note that my Mark II Sniper's over there as well, so I went to declare a ARO with a sniper. And it's one of these annoying infinity situations where I think I've got line of sight, I reveal a hidden deployment model, my opponent says, well, no, I don't think you can quite see me there, so I have to take it back, and now he knows where my hidden deployment sniper is, even though I've not got any value out of him. That's my fault, though. I could always just have been a bit more careful with reveals and line of sight and positioning and things like that. Anyway, the Morat is destroyed. So then he puts support wear control jump up with the Interventor's Lieutenant Order, and we see a Hellcat dropping down ambitiously right behind enemy lines here. And this guy has his combi rifle. He's going to be able to go after the flashball spot. He's going to be able to creep around the corner to the position of the Dakini with HMG on that stairway. He's also going to be able to try and pick off this this net rod over here as well. So he is in a fantastic position. So pulling around here, going after the net rods, also going to try and go after, well, he can't go after the Krakot because it's prone. I'm deciding to reveal my Dazyu at this point, just because I'm in damage control. I feel like he's done a good job landing his Hellcat there and was successful and has managed to find a good spot. So with the Dazyu being at long range, having NWI, can just put it prone here so that this walkway covers it. If I do take a hit, NWI will help me there. So just trying to slow down this push, but unfortunately the Hellcat does not get taken out by the Dazyu's shot and does still manage to rip into the net rod and destroy it. That's going to allow him to pull around here and go close range against the flashball spot. And this is where having a combi rifle or a boarding shotgun is very good. All the tight corners and things, you're +3 for range, -3 for cover potentially, -3 for mimetism in this case, and the flash pulse is having to do a short range flash pulse up against cover. And of course the Hellcat manages to win this one pretty easily. He's then able to move around back behind cover. Still in range of my HVT, not that that will matter later on, but he notices as well, he can actually be really cautious and sort of bring a guy in around here. And just, I mean, the photo's not going to do it justice, but there's obviously a cylindrical silhouette 2 there, where he can put his silhouette 2 and just get an angle from one point to one point here, just very carefully across the top of that little balustrade there, that stairway side. So that means that the Dakini is going to get shot at close range, and as you can see, he's not really going to get cover. He's going to benefit from mimetism, but HMG is terrible at close range, and the Dakinis don't have pistols. So Hellcat ripping into that one, and unfortunately taking out yet another model, and quite an important model as well. Note that after he's knocked unconscious, my opponent's going, well, what can you do to revive it? Well, that's going to be the Sophitek, basically. So Sophitek coming around to revive him, and seeing that, he's removing the flash pulse spot with the coup de grace, shooting at the Dakini again and again and again with the combi rifle. I'm making saves and I'm making saves, but eventually takes the Dakini out as well, just to make sure that this turn's nice and strong. And it has been. So he's taken out net rod, flash pulse spot, Dakini. He shot one of my Morat Krakots, so very strong first turn for Nomads. Kusanagi moving up to the cover of the building here, and we're doing a coordinated order to reshuffle people. Kriza Borak stepping down off the crate because he knows what's best for him. And yeah, we've just had a pretty strong turn. The camo markers also moving out into various spots, and everybody's sitting pretty. This is a HVT, by the way, not a CSU. Nomads can't have CSUs as far as I know. So my turn, I'm transferring one of my models from Group 2, and Group 2 is very depleted now. Group 2 is filling up Group 1, so I've got I think 8 or 9 regular orders in Group 1. But Achilles can use the Lieutenant Order and the Data Tracker Order, so there's quite a lot of mobility there. He did put his Hellcat into suppression fire, but Achilles, walking around to here, he's able to be able to walk up there first, force a change-facing ARO from zone of control, and then come around to the corner without being shot, and then just wipe out the Hellcat in close combat. So a very easy maneuver for Achilles there, just swiping him in half with the explosive sword, and the game moves on. Elsewhere though, I'm using my other Morat Krakot to come up here with his climbing plus and 6-4 speed ability, and also moving my Dazyu around as well, and Achilles is coming into cover here. This is a coordinated order, guys, so they're all sort of getting into spots. The Sophitek also moving along as well, so all 4 models getting a fair bit of mobility. Then I'm deciding to move in with my Krakot, and whichever of these camo markers gets revealed, the Morat's going to be able to shoot. He's just going to be able to unleash both chest mines or rip into them with his SMG. So we have Brand de Castro revealing, and immediately I'm seeing the opportunity to trade a 15-point model for like a 33-point model. What was it again? 33-point model. So I'm going to unleash both chest mines into Brand, and Bran fires back with a boarding shotgun in arrow, and this gives me a great chance to trade. So Bran fails one of the saves and dies. Shock takes him off the board, but his boarding shotgun actually misses. He rolls really high with it, and we've still got the Krakot standing, which is great. So with the Krakot unloaded now with his chest mines, he is revealing and going up against this this Heckler here, and firing his gun at the Heckler. And does manage to take the Heckler down. He's also going up against the Zero over here. There we are. Sorry, I got this part of the turn wrong. So, yes, there's an arrow from both the Zero and the Heckler. The Heckler goes for the jammer, and the Krakot fires all of the submachine gun shots into the Heckler, because I want to remove the jammer that's locking down the center of the table. That's going to be important because I'm going to need to move in to the center with Achilles later on. Morat gets a bit unlucky here though and is shot, and doesn't manage to take down either of these Nomad models. So what we have now is the Dazyu moving around, and quite importantly, she is jammable. She's not immune to jammers like the Morat is, so she'll be able to come around the side here and get into a position where she moves to this corner into line of sight of the Zero and the Heckler as well. She can use stealth up until this point, but when she comes around the corner, her combi rifle shots are going to be face to face with the Heckler. So in she comes to the aforementioned position. There she is. So she's taking shots with her combi rifle over the corpse of the Krakot into the Heckler there, and of course over here at the Zero. In this instance, I completely ignore the Zero, because if he gets a lucky hit on me, I take one wound, I go into NWI. But he's up against Tio Camo and only has one shot, so chances of surviving that one are actually pretty good. Whereas the jammer, if that really does get me, the Dazyu's in a really bad spot. So all combi rifle shots into the Heckler, it does shoot him and kill him, so he's removed. Dazyu now is able to go after the Zero, so continuing to move around to fire more shots into him, and eventually getting to a spot where she does manage to kill him or render him unconscious, just as she's rendered the jammer unconscious, but not before he places an E-Mauler, and that's the point where the Dazyu stops. There's still an E-Mauler there, Dazyu hangs out, and there we have it. In the meantime, revealing, sorry, this is now moving over to the Nomads turn 2. So, Nomads had a very good turn 1. That Hellcat dropped down and did a bunch of damage, but then my retaliatory strike there, taking out that Hellcat, knocking out his jammer, knocking out his Zero, that kind of play, and knocking out Bran was a very good counterattack. So, pretty violent game so far. Nomad versus Aleph throwing punches. We're on to game round 2. It's Nomad's turn 2, and we've got Kusanagi moving out Cassandra from this point of cover, and this is the spot where the Mark II sniper, oh, wrong button. Sorry guys. So, where were we at? So what happened here is that Kusanagi moves out from cover, and there's this bit here which isn't quite enough to block her silhouette from the silhouette of the Mark II sniper, and she does get shot by this sniper as she's going after the Dazyu Fort Observer. So there you see it, Kusanagi going after her. Great picture of her, but she does get ripped into by the Mark II sniper, unfortunately. So Dazyu takes a hit from the Spitfire, goes into NWI, and is just hanging out here, basically. She attempted to dodge Kusanagi's shots, I believe, so that she would dodge the E-Maul at the same time, if I recall correctly, but I can't 100% remember. So then what you've got is the Intruder moving around, and the Intruder's doing this so that she can actually get into a position where she'll be able to get a better angle. So the Intruder's walked all the way around here so that she can move in and snipe the Dazyu from this point. She's had to move up through the stairs to do that. And that, of course, is able to deal with the Dazyu very effectively, but unfortunately it leaves the Intruder just hanging out here, not in Marcus State, and in a very different position than he originally intended to be. We then have the so many models that start with D. Daktari, using her helper bot here, Nazbat, whatever it's called, to move around and revive the Zero that I picked up earlier. She does that successfully, but even worse, moves into close range of the Heckler Jammer and revives him as well. So this is where the game seems to be shifting back and forward every single turn. First turn, Nomads pull ahead. Second turn, Aleph pulls it back. Third turn, the Nomads are reviving their troopers and killing more of my guys, so things are getting a bit rough here. Heckler back on the board, and a Zero back on the board. Elsewhere, people just going into suppression fire because he's got nothing else to do. So now we have the second turn for Aleph, and after thinking about it quite some time, this intruder here has a line of sight past where Achilles is supposed to be, and the intruder is actually very good counter to Achilles because of that long-range sniper and, of course, mimetism, but most importantly, the MSV2. So I really want to try and deal with it some other way. If Achilles just walks out there and shoots, then the intruder's going to be hitting on a 16. Achilles makes 2 saves, whereas Achilles is going to be minus 12 on 4 dice. Just not very reliable. What I'm deciding to do, though, is step down from the building with my Mark II posthuman, moving over here, and then moving him over to this spot here, where he's going to be able to take on the intruder from this spot around the corner here. So the intruder's position up there, and of course we're here. And what it's going to be is 2 dice from the sniper, the proxy, against the intruder, who doesn't actually quite have cover there because he's not actually flush with this side of the wall, only with the long end here. So because of the awkward angle that he used to take on the Dazu earlier, he's not going to have cover against this angle here from the Proxy Mark II. So at Ballistic Skill 13, plus 3 for range, minus 3 for camo, we're hitting on 13s on 2 dice. Whereas shooting back from the intruder, it's going to be long range, minus 3 for cover, so 1 dice, I think, 13. And he whiffs the shot. The proxy does manage to hit him and kill him. But this was a very dangerous move. If this had gone badly for me, I would have been really behind. I was hoping that I'd either kill him or maybe take 1 wound and the Sophitek can come over and maybe take him out of NWI, or he can just have another shot at it and eventually win that way. Anyway, Achilles is free to move out now, so he just comes around here. You can see the smoking gun of the proxy there. Hail, friend. Good job to you. And then he moves over here where he can rip into the Zero from long range there, firing at him with a Spitfire, but not before the Zero puts down another E-Mauler into Mark Estate. Then we have the Sophitek moving up to this console. She doesn't quite have enough orders to press the button, but sets up for that next turn. And Achilles prone behind these boxes here. Already in the exclusion zone now, so we may not need to move him at all later in the game, but he is in a good position because there's nobody threatening him and he's got the points there. So, Nomad's turn 3, he realizes that this is his last turn. He's got to get his data tracker into the deployment zone. Not many orders left now. So, moving out here, and we're trying to get around to a point where the Kriza is going to be in the exclusion zone, but also in a place where Achilles can't kill him too easily. We also have the Zero Killer Hacker getting down from this building and moving out to a point where he can turn on one of the consoles and heat the deployment zone that still has the Interventor and the Daktari in it. He's lost so many troopers though, so it's really going to be quite hard for Nomads to win on points if Achilles is still alive. Especially since this particular Zero is going to die from the cold, ending the turnout in the middle of the table as well. But there's the beautiful Kriza hanging out on the exact side of the table in cover of this little building here. So on the opposite corner, on the opposite table side from Achilles. Okay, so Achilles goes at it. He's moving out, and I'm thinking just move over there and shoot the Kriza from long range. So Achilles moving out. This is a marker here, so just really moving around in this way to get to a better spot. So let's see how that pans out. Moves around over here, and this is going to enable him to shoot at the Heckler Jammer, kill him, and then I'll be able to move in range now that the Jammer's gone, and blow up the Kriza. Now, something really, really important happened at this stage in the game, and I want to pause to take a bit of time to explain what happened. So earlier on, the Zero had put down an E-Mauler in Mark Estate. Then the Dazu had dodged it and it went away. And then more recently, the Zero got revived and placed down another E-Mauler as Achilles was shooting him. Now, we kept referring it to as a mine marker. And Achilles comes around the side of the table, and I'd forgotten that it was actually an E-Mauler, not a mine. And I moved within range of it, thinking I've got 3 wounds, I'm just going to tank it, as I was shooting the Jammer. And as I roll my armor save, what I think is an armor save, my opponent's trying to remind me, oh, actually it's an E-Mauler, It's a BTS save, and of course I failed the roll. So what happens here is, officially, Achilles is isolated now, and can't move into the middle of the table where the exclusion zone is, which was his plan earlier on. So that means that both of us have live data trackers. He's got the data tracker in the middle, so he gets 3 points from that. I have more army points, so I'll get 3 points from that, because the softdeck's about to turn on the console and heat my zone. We've both got one console turned on, and we've both got a classified because I managed to get somebody in range of, I think, his HVT in the end, I think it was. So it would be a draw. What me and my opponent ended up doing to resolve the game is I simply said to him, hey, look, I fully didn't realize it was an e-mauler. Well, I did, but I'd forgotten, and there's no way that I would have risked it and moved Achilles there if I'd just remembered. Are you okay with me having done something else, just given that, that was open information, effectively, that it was an e-mauler there based on what had happened? And my opponent, being a cool enough dude, is like, yeah, sure, of course, I wouldn't want to try and win a game based on just, forgetting that particular part, and we hadn't really played through it very, very much. In a competitive tournament ITS environment, it's really on me, not my opponent, to remember that stuff, and I'd already rolled the dice and would seen it would have been a fail, so it's unfair for me to sort of take it back at that point. But I just wanted to report the two outcomes of this game where, if you look at it in a very official, sort of regimented black and white way, this is a draw, so Nomads and Aleph ending up being a draw. But the way that we actually played it between opponents and friends is that it's a win for Aleph, because Achilles goes on to face off against Fast Panda, who then gets shot by the Sophitect. Achilles moves into the middle of the table, and the Sophitect moves into my opponent's deployment zone where it's heated, and then the game ends after I've had a couple of attempts at killing the Kriza, but not actually wiping it off the board. So that means neither of us have the exclusion zone dominated, but I've got more army points, so it's a win of, I think, 5 points to 2, Aleph versus Nomads there. But yeah, I think it's quite an important point, right? Some people in the infiNity community at large, and I would say probably less than 10% of people, feel that gotchas are okay and that no kinds of takebacks are allowed whatsoever, and that you don't use play by intent, you don't use pie slicing, you play it where it lies, and life goes on. Whereas the vast majority of wargamers that I've met, and I've met hundreds of them, really prefer an approach that ultimately just rewards generalship and decision making and tactics, and your understanding the game and the outcome of dice, rather than your attentiveness to really little silly things like where the models are placed when it's not really that finicky a situation, if you know what I mean. So quite often when I'm playing, I let my opponent take things back. Another interesting point is that the Corvus Belli paper buildings, right? There's so many on this battlefield. I'll just show you an example of one. So this right here, this Corvus Belli style paper building. Let's say you're playing and your opponent has a Corvus Belli sort of paper camo marker, like they come in the operations data sets where it's just placed there. This is a camo marker, but of course the lip of this building is sort of obscuring it. So if you're physically sitting on the other side of the table and you're looking around to see what models your opponent has, you might see just the lip of that building and not the camo marker on the other side of it, and forget that there's a TO camo marker there. So you move your model out and go, cool, any arrows? And your opponent goes, yeah, I've got the Swiss Guard missile launcher here, I'm going to shoot you. And you're like, oh, I'd forgotten that marker was there, I couldn't see it, but if you'd wanted me to, I could have played this whole game, getting out of my chair, walking around there just to see where your actual paper camo markers are, coming back and then, carefully proceeding. Or we can play it in such a way that I go, well, if I move out, am I going to get shot by anybody? Or let's say I do actually move out and my opponent says, oh, you get shot by somebody if you're there, do you want to take that back? And I do take it back. And that's generally how we play it in our meta and around the world as well. But there's been plenty of videos on my YouTube channel about that topic. You can find them if you like. Play by intent, pie slicing, you name it. It's all out there. What matters is that this game, effectively, it was a draw between Aleph and Nomads. We played it as a win for Aleph. We both had a really good time, had some learnings, and getting ready for the tournament this weekend. So I will be playing some Deshart Company this coming weekend, and the following week after this weekend, I will be doing tons of bat reps of Deshart Company. So if you're into that, stay tuned. And don't forget my the results of my community and faction polls coming out soon. I'm going to be closing that in a day or two, but there's still a chance to email me with your picks. It's been very interesting so far. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again soon.